Hi, I'm Alison and welcome to the chaos that is my live-in DIY Victorian tourist home renovation. Welcome to my channel and thank you so much for watching. This channel is going to be all about my DIY Victorian tourist home renovation while I'm living in it. You know, I've only just got my head around Instagram Reels and now I thought, yeah, great time to start making YouTube videos too. But yeah, if I waited until I was ready, then I never would have started this. So please bear with me for these first few videos, but hopefully after a few weeks, after a few goes, I will get the hang of it, because I have so much to share and so much that I want to talk about and discuss, and I just think YouTube is the place to do that. So I wanted to use this first video as a bit of a, a bit of a get to know me, get to know how I have ended up doing this. Yeah, just a bit of a get to know me, and answering some of the most common questions I get on my Instagram account. Where will I start? So I guess, how long have I been renovating this house? So I moved in here in December 2021, so just over 2 years ago. And as soon as I stepped foot in the door, I started, peeling wallpaper, lifting carpet. Yeah, I got stuck in as soon as I moved in. I was changing the hinges on a window, and then the sash was so heavy and I was almost like stuck under it until, yeah, it's been 2 years in the making. It's one of those things, like I'm doing so much DIY here, more DIY than I ever anticipated, but I also have had trades in, because I'm one person and I'm an inexperienced person learning as I go. So as much as I would love to have attempted to do absolutely everything, it's just not feasible right now. So I have had trades in when needed. So for some of the bigger works or things that required a bit more expertise. So I do sometimes feel like a fraud saying, oh, it's a DIY renovation when I've had trades in too, but we'll go with that. Most of the first year, like 2022, when I look back on it now, I feel like I achieved nothing. I was really just taking that time to get to grips with living in a house by myself for the first time, being a homeowner. The change in my, personal circumstances that had led me to buying a house by myself, being in a completely new area, somewhere that I'd never lived before, deciding that I was going to take on this DIY project, it turning into a much bigger project than I ever anticipated. Being far away from my family, and yeah, there was a lot of factors that the first year just felt like less progress was made than I had anticipated, which is fine, which I look back on now and I think it's probably good in a way that first year I was essentially just fanning about, because my own personal style, my own personal taste changed and evolved as I, for the first time in my life, was, designing my own space and how I wanted things to work. And ideas that I had whenever I first moved in weren't the same ideas that I wanted to act on a few months later. So I think having that bit of time, having that bit of breathing space didn't really do me any harm. And then in 2023, so last year, that's when all of the sort of building works kicked off. So knocking down of walls, bricking walls up. Yeah, there was a lot more demolition last year, and I feel like now I've come to a point where there isn't really much demolition left to be done. Like, there's a couple of chimney breasts I need to knock open, but I've done that many of them now that won't be an issue. It'll just be dusty, but it won't be an issue to do. Now it's just for me to start putting it all back together again. So there is a lot still to do, a lot to share. So what I'm hoping to do throughout the course of these YouTube videos is probably do weekly vlogs, so of jobs that I am taking on during the course of that week. I will share those. I want to do like a house tour, so showing the house as it currently stands, showing the rooms when I first moved in and the layout of the house and how it has since changed, the work that has gone into the rooms to date, and sharing my plans and ideas for what I still have left to do. So that's all to say that I have been renovating this house, living in this house for 2 years, and I am very optimistic and hopeful that all of the renovation works will be done, completed by the end of this year. I have lived in the house the entire time, so I've, you know, even when the kitchen was like this, I was still here during that time. You know, I was still using the kitchen, like that's my only kitchen, like that was where I was still cooking my porridge every morning and, you know, stepping over the piles of rubble and trying not to put a nail through my foot. So another question that I get asked is, do I do this, as in renovating and content creation, I guess, do I do this full time? The answer is no. I wish that I did this full time. I wish that that was, you know, my job. That is definitely something that I am working towards and would love to be able to do one day. But no, I do have a full-time job. I suppose tying in with that is, how do I stay motivated, and, you know, how do I not have multiple breakdowns about the cost and the time and, you know, the energy that goes into renovating a house while living in it with, you know, zero DIY experience. And I guess what keeps me motivated and prevents me from having multiple breakdowns is that I have figured out my why. You know, I've figured out why I'm doing this, what has led me to want to do this. If I can somehow turn it into a full-time career, then great. If that doesn't happen, you know, I still have designed hopefully multiple gorgeous homes along the way. I've worked, you know, already worked with some fantastic brands, and I want to continue working with brands that I love and actually want to use in my home. Like I have my why in mind, and that's what keeps me motivated. But that's not to say that I get up every day and I want to do DIY every day. Like, that's absolutely not the case. Like, as anyone who follows me on Instagram will know that, like, there's days when I have, like, it is chaotic and nothing's where it needs to be. You know, there's stuff everywhere. It's just piles and piles of rubbish and rubble, and I'm just stepping over the top of it. Like, I have, you know, there's days when I have absolutely zero interest or motivation to even move the stuff out of my way to clear a path. But yeah, and it doesn't help that I'm just not an organized person. ADHD problems, like, don't ask me to organize, because I know where stuff is most of the time. Like, it's chaotic, and I have an understanding of where things are and what's going on and why I'm doing jobs in a certain order. But anyone else coming in and saying this is like, just do one, you know, just do one room at a time. Just do one room at a time. No, that sentiment does not apply here. I do not have the brain to do just one room at a time. I feel like, especially when you're living in a DIY, like living in a renovation, it does not happen one room at a time. You don't just want to do the electrics one room at a time. You don't want to, the one room at a time. Yeah, no, it's not for me. It's not for me. I've tried it, couldn't stick to it. My brain gets bored. I like to have multiple projects on the go at the same time. That's just how I function. Is it overwhelming? Yes. But it's fine. This one makes me laugh. Do I use an interior designer No, no. I am so incredibly flattered by that question that anyone could think that I have possibly used an interior designer to design my home, but no. I mean, I wish I had the budget for one, like that would be great. I take inspiration from, you know, Instagram, Pinterest, other accounts that I follow, from other YouTube home renovation accounts. Feed by Autumn and Jess Rose Parr were two channels that I watched religiously when I first started. Like, I love their styles. They have both finished their homes since and they're both gorgeous. So yeah, I took a lot of inspiration from them and just figuring out like what I actually like. I think before I moved into this house, or before I started looking at old homes, I really had no interest in old homes. I had no like appreciation for the character that they did have. Now I have such a love for the characters that like Victorian properties, for example, have. Like the high ceilings, the cove and the cornice and the corbels, the original wood floors, like any small like original character that I find, I am like I must preserve this. This is treasure. Being in this house and uncovering the original characters of this house has shaped my own personal style and personal taste, like home taste. It has shaped that. And going from when I first moved in, the ideas that I had, once I sat with them for a while and started to piece together, you know, the things that I love, those ideas have changed and evolved. And yeah, I think it's just figuring out what you love, and when you start putting that all together, it'll create a gorgeous little home. Yeah, I have a whole new appreciation for vintage and antique furniture and, you know, just the home trinkets, and I cannot wait to get to that stage of styling and just filling the house with lots of pre-loved goodies, essentially. One of the things that I like to do, and I think gives my house that bit more of a personal touch, and I can't wait to probably put them on display. They're all like stashed away in suitcases at the minute, but it's picking up trinkets like when I'm on holiday. Like I'm a bit like, I don't want the same H&M vase that everyone else has displayed in their living room. Like, I want to pick things up when I'm on holiday, when I'm like traveling the world, which I haven't got to do as much of since I've bought the house, because all my money goes into the house. But hopefully when things settle down, I can get back out exploring the world again. But yeah, anytime abroad, when I'm on holiday, I'm picking up wee bits and pieces for the house that I think will just give the house that wee personal touch, and will tell that story of where I've been, and you know, piece it all together. And I'm also I've started picking up like condiments, like kitchen, like actual bits that you will eat and cook with. I've started picking those up while I've been abroad too. So for example, I was in Greece last summer and I brought home a bottle of olive oil, but it's in this like gorgeous orange ceramic, I guess, bottle with this like cool print on it, and I cannot wait to put that on my kitchen shelf. I was in France last year and I brought home like a load of like their Celtic sea salt and a little like salt container thing. I can't think of what it's called. But yeah, a little salt thing, so I can't wait to display that. And I brought cider home from France. I am just going to be filling my house with things that I love, that really reflect me and who I am, and you know, what brings me joy. And as my style and taste has evolved and developed, I have put together, like I've been putting together mood boards and then tweaking the mood boards, and I feel like I've now settled on like an overall vibe for the house, which I guess is a palette of off-whites, black, brass, like natural elements like brick and natural wood, and then like a dark terracotta thread tying it together throughout the house. So that's the idea that I have in mind, and hopefully when the house is finished, it will reflect that mood board and that vibe that I've created, and it will all flow together quite nicely. But yeah, that's it. It's a very long way of saying no, I don't use an interior designer. I would love to have a budget to use an interior designer. I would love to be an interior designer. I have developed this love for designing and creating now that this house is helping me fulfill. So another question that I get asked is, you know, how do I know how to do as much DIY as I know how to do? Do I have DIY experience? Do I have renovation experience? You know, how have I got into this? And no, I did not have any DIY or renovation experience before I bought this house. I didn't own a single screwdriver before I bought this house, and now I own multiple tools, multiple power tools. I am using, you know, I use a miter saw, I use a circular saw, I use impact drivers on the daily. If you told me 2.5 years ago that this is what my life was going to be like, I don't think I would have believed you. But it almost was born out of necessity in this house. You know, I bought a little drill, I bought a little set of screwdrivers, and I started to put up curtain poles. And what else did I do? I put up curtain poles, I was stripping wallpaper, I was lifting the carpet up, so I got a little like pry bar to start lifting the carpet up. You know, I got a hammer. I just really slowly started building my collection as I was, you know, deciding what projects I wanted to take on and what tools I needed for those projects. I think it's just slowly building up my confidence with it. Like 2 years ago, I just, yeah, using a drill, like I was so nervous even using the drill, because I was like, what if something goes wrong? Like what if I damage something or make a mistake? And now I'm just like, yeah, like pass me the saw, you know, pass me that big loud powerful power tool. And the way that I've learned that is by watching, you know, YouTube tutorials, by following other accounts on Instagram who are doing the jobs that I want to be able to do, by talking to tradespeople, by, you know, asking people who have experience in it, by speaking to the accounts on Instagram who have done the jobs, you know, getting their advice and their recommendations. Beyond that, the best thing that you can do is just get stuck into doing it. Like there's only so much you can learn by reading and watching. I know personally I learn so much better by just doing it. Like even if I make a mistake, if I damage something, like it's fine. I've learned that most things can be repaired. Like it's not the end of the world. I think that has been one of the best things about getting stuck in and just doing it, is realizing how easily most things can be repaired. Like before I owned my house, you know, if I would have avoided like screwing into a wall, because what if I make the hole the wrong size and it damages the wall, and like I wouldn't have known how to repair that. But then you learn things like that are such easy fixes, and it does come down to confidence. Most things are easy to pick up if you're willing to, and a lot of things can be fixed. Holes in a wall can be fixed. Like your house isn't, touch wood, your house isn't going to fall down. I think that was one of my biggest concerns when I moved in here and started uncovering cracks and thinking, I mean, that's how it escalated into a bigger renovation job than I first anticipated. When I like started peeling back wallpaper and these cracks, I was uncovering these cracks and was thinking the house is going to fall down. And but I eventually learned like it was cracks in the plaster. But like someone like people could tell me that, but I needed to understand it and experience it for myself and know how to fix it, to be comfortable with it and to understand what was happening. But yeah, any cracks now I'm just like, oh, that's fine. Whereas when I first moved in, the cracks were like the end of the world, and now I'm like, oh, it's fine, it can be filled, like it's okay. And I guess that leads me on to how I like, you know, how I have ended up doing all of this. and how an Irish girl from a little village in Northern Ireland has came to living in Birkenhead on the Wirral and taking on a big home renovation by myself. So with zero DIY experience, how did I come to end up renovating an entire house in a part of the country that I've never lived in before, had only visited a handful of times? Yeah, by myself. Very good question. I went to uni in Scotland, so I moved to Scotland in 2012. Yeah, 2012, and I stayed there for 9 years. The last few years when I was living in Scotland, so the last 3 or 4 years of living there, I was living in my partner at the time's flat in Falkirk, and it was definitely never my plan to spend that length of time living in Falkirk, and that relationship unexpectedly ended. I mean, it was unexpected for me, probably not so unexpected for them, considering they were probably thinking about it for months. But yeah, they love to tell you, like, you know, right at the very last minute, don't they? Of course, at the time it felt like the end of the world for me. Like, I realized that I needed to move out, so of course I went into, you know, this like panic and thinking about what I'm going to do, where am I going to live, do I move back home, do I try and move in with some friends, do I, you know, rent? So throughout this thought process I realized that I wanted to have my own space, whether or not that meant renting it or buying it. I still wasn't sure. Like, I didn't have a huge deposit saved up. Fortunately, because we had been talking about buying a house together, I had started saving for a deposit for a mortgage, but at this point I still had maybe less than £10,000, and like no other savings. Like, that was it. Like, that, my mortgage deposit was my entire savings, because I had been terrible with money until that point. But anyway, I still was like up in the air about what I was doing, and this went on for a little while until one day that I was at home, back home at my parents' house in Northern Ireland, and my dad had bought an old VW transporter van that he was going to turn into a camper van. And it was almost like I had this light bulb moment of thinking, well, okay, like, I can't buy, you know, the 3-bed detached house with a garden, you know, with a garage that I thought I was going to be able to buy with my ex, you know, because that's what I had in mind and that's what we were going to buy together, and and like, yeah, so at this light bulb of, okay, I can't buy that, but I can buy something smaller, something that's my own, that is a starter property. And if it needs a bit of fixing up, like, that's fine. I can give it like a paint, you know, I can get the carpets changed, I can, you know, like, I can make it my own and really just have my own blank canvas. And it was that moment that I decided that I was going to buy a house to fix up, not thinking that it was going to be in this capacity, but you know, Victorian terraces, like, we live and we learn. Love them. But so yeah, I decided I was going to buy a house, but my next thing was finding somewhere where it was affordable to buy a house by myself with a small deposit. And it was essentially like spinning the globe, you know, where was I going to land? Because I was essentially googling where's the cheapest house, or where's the cheapest place in the UK to buy a house. And I think I landed on, it was South Wales, Liverpool, and there was somewhere else. And I thought Liverpool was great because it's, you know, it's pretty central, it's beside the water, it's close to North Wales, it's close to the Peak District, it's close to the Lake District. Like, it ticked off a lot of boxes. So I originally started looking at Liverpool and had come down, so still living in Scotland, but I'd come down for a few viewings. And yeah, it was like these sort of tourist houses that were within my price range, you know, sort of 110 and under. And So I came down for a few viewings, had a fair idea of what the houses were like, what sort of work was going to be needing doing, thinking that I could do it like over an extended period of time. Made a couple of offers, and then I had went back to Scotland, was still looking, was still living in my ex's flat while I was looking for houses, and eventually I seen the one that I'm in at the minute came on the market, and it was on the Whirl. And I think like at some point I realised that the Whirl was where I wanted to live as opposed to actually being in Liverpool. So this house came up in the market. I was in Scotland. I knew that I was going to make an offer on it. I couldn't be bothered travelling down to do another viewing. So I asked the estate agents if I could just do an offer on it blind, and they were not having that. They made me do a video call, video viewing. So that's what I did. I put an offer in. My offer was accepted. I remember that I was on my way to Connachill, just outside Glasgow, for a walk with one of my friends whenever I'd had a voicemail from the estate agent saying that my offer had been accepted. The feeling of buying your own house for the first time, like by yourself, like I think that's, you know, that's a feeling that I was really doing this, like I was doing this by myself. From me having that sort of light bulb moment to having an offer accepted was about 4 or 6 weeks. Like it happened really fast, from me deciding, right, I want to buy a house. I want to buy a house that, you know, is in need of some work, so is more affordable. And okay, that's one decision. Okay, now I'm going to buy it in Liverpool or the Whirl, as it turned out. And yeah, now I've had an offer accepted. Like that was 6 weeks maximum. Like that's an impulsive decision after 9 years in Scotland to just go, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm buying a house by myself, I'm moving down the country, like to somewhere that I've never lived before, and shit, now I have to learn how to DIY. I'm glad that me 2.5 years ago made those decisions and realized that like I was so capable, and I was so much more like empowered than I was giving myself credit for. Yeah, it's funny because I was, you know, having this conversation with a fellow DIY home renovator friend that I met for the first time like in real life a few weeks ago. I was having this conversation, and you know, and I've said it to anyone, like I've said to my friends, my family, that relationship ending was like, obviously at the time it was the most devastating thing, and I didn't know like how I was going to function and what my life was going to be like. And when I look back and I think that was the best thing, like, because it was the catalyst for me then creating this like life for myself, like figuring out what's important to me, you know, what I want out of life, where I want to live. So with my little deposit, I was able to buy a house, no other savings. I was just going for it. It was a very much can-do attitude, and what's the worst that can happen? I'll figure it out along the way. And that's what I have been doing. So going forward, I will be sharing, as I said, I'll be sharing weekly vlogs. I will be sharing the house in its sort of before and after state, what I've done so far, like the different jobs. I'll be doing more like detailed, I guess, like tutorial type videos of some of the jobs that I've tackled or how not to do them. I have a lot in my head that I want to share, and so please like and subscribe. And if you don't already follow me on Instagram, please head over there and follow me over there too. If you've any questions, comments, anything you would like to see in future videos, please drop them in the comments below. If there's any brands out there who would like to collaborate, please send me a wee DM or email. I'm always open to that. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.